this and says there is no way a low-class god would be right after getting bitten by Cerberus. She thinks that it is because of the blessing of immortality. Yu starts smiling and tells Cerberus that he gave him the food, but he doesn't eat it. He asks if they should go on a walk right away, doggy. Cerberus is growling at Yu. Yu says that it is useless, and he won't take it out for a walk if he keeps on doing that. Cerberus stopped his growling and turned around. Yu thought that this used to work well at the pet shop. Cerberus grabs the chain with his mouth and obediently sits in front of Yu. He starts smiling and says that it is still a dog. Yu holds the chain, and Persephone tells him that it has been a while since the last time Cerberus went out for a walk, so take it as slow as possible. Yu tells her that he got it, so don't worry. He was called the president of dogs at the pet shop, and this is nothing. Cerberus starts running, and Yu is being dragged behind it, holding the chain. His head hits a rock, and he starts yelling. Yu acquires a new wind speed skill and wonders what that is. Persephone starts running alongside Yu and tells him to use his divine power to strengthen his body. Yu is surprised to see that she is keeping up with them at this speed, and she again shouts at Yu that Cerberus is too powerful, so he should strengthen himself with divine power. Yu thinks that he thought divine power was some kind of a star. He asks her how he can use it, and she asks if he doesn't know how to use divine power. Yu replies that he doesn't know, and she is shocked to hear that and asks how that is possible. Yu replies that it is true, and he wonders how long it is going to run. She tries to remember the feeling of using his power. Yu remembers that it activated without him noticing during his battle with Charon. Persephone tells him to remember it into an image and think of it as controlling water inside his body. Yu closes his eyes and starts focusing on activating his power. Yu starts emitting a strange aura, puts his foot on the ground, and stops Cerberus. Persephone says that it is good just to focus the divine power on the part of the body that he wants to strengthen. Cerberus is angry and starts pulling again. Yu grabs the chain with all his might and pulls it towards him. Cerberus starts flying in the air and falls to the ground. Yu tells it that this is enough walking for today, so let's go back. Cerberus starts growling again. Yu asks if it is going to resist, then they will do it his way. It stops growling, and Persephone starts smiling. She tells Yu that it is his first time using divine power, and yet he can do this much. She says that she got a good part-timer this time. Yu thinks that it is weird. He can see that she is quite strong, but she didn't interfere at any point. Even him, a low-class god, could do it. Yu asks her why isn't she coming near Cerberus. He is sure that she could suppress it easily. She replies because there are restrictions. Cerberus is a guard of hell. He blocks the countless number of lost spirits trying to go back to the mortal world and also stops those trying to enter out of curiosity. She is one of them, one of those who wants to go back. Yu is surprised to hear that and thinks that, to summarize, Persephone is restricted in the underworld and can't do anything about Cerberus. The only thing she can lay her hands on is only a few beings that Hades allows like him. Yu remembers that in mythology Hades kidnaps Persephone and imprisons her in the underworld after he is mesmerized by her beauty. He thought that was absurd, but it seemed to be true. She had probably spent an unimaginable time here alone, and he thought about it. It was quite sad. No, he needed to get rid of this sense of justice. Persephone's husband is Hades. He is the brother of the greatest god Zeus. He can't possibly do anything even if he wants to. Snow White is standing in front of Yu. He says that he completely forgot it, so he is sorry. Snow jumps on Yu. After a while, Yu drags Cerberus back to where he was, and he suddenly gets up and starts getting angry. Yu asks what has gotten into him all of a sudden. Persephone says that he is chasing after the dead. Despite how he looks, he does his job quite diligently, and that is also the reason why she can't leave. She tells Yu that once he chains him back to the pillar, he will be done with his morning duties. Yu thinks that a dog is monitoring a goddess. Hades must actually be a bit uptight. Yu says that he doesn't get why he's raising a dog only he can handle. While Yu is about to chain Cerberus to the pillar, the intuition talents gets activated, and Yu senses that there is something inside the pillar. He doesn't think that it is alive, so he decides to check it out. Persephone says that they are done with the morning duties. Now, let's prepare for the afternoon. She is shocked to see that Yu is punching a pillar. Yu pulls out something and says that it looks like something good is in there. The screen says that it is Cerberus's collar, the collar used by Hades to train Cerberus. If used, Cerberus will follow his commands. Persephone says that it is unbelievable to think that he hid it here. She can't find it no matter where she looks. She asks you how he found it. You says it was a hunch. You asks if this is that great of a collar, and she replies of course Cerberus is the symbol of the underworld, and commanding him is the same as commanding all of the underworld. You says that it looks like a normal dog collar. You says that he can't use it. It is Hade's property after all. She tells you that it doesn't matter, it is not like using it is forbidden or anything, and her husband would often tell her to try and look for that collar, saying that he would let her train Cerberus if she were to actually find it. You thinks that it seems like she has a lot of things to settle with her husband. You thinks that he can't let go of this chance for this part-time job to be a piece of cake. You tells Cerberus to hear and let him put the collar on, but Cerberus rudely turns around. You asks him if he didn't realize a while ago that he is no match for him, and if he has not learned his lesson now. Cerberus is angry, but you beats him up and puts the collar on. He starts crying, and you tells him that it looks good on him, and it would have been so nice if he had behaved from the start. Cerberus stops crying. You orders him to sit, lie down and roll over. Cerberus starts following his orders. You starts laughing and says that it finally works. You tells Cerberus that he has a cute side to him and says it is the punishment for biting and dragging him before, until he says Cerberus will be facing that wall and will be thinking about what he did. You starts laughing wickedly. Persephone touches Yu's shoulder. He looks back and asks her if she saw that the dog can't do anything against his will. She touches Yu's face with her finger and casts some spell on him. Yu falls on the ground. She says that her husband had two final orders for Cerberus. One was to monitor the dead who were trying to escape the underworld, and the other was to monitor Persephone. She tells Yu to sleep tight, and she will come back before her husband returns, so don't worry. Yu thinks that to Hades, the most important thing is not the underworld, so he can't let Persephone go. Yu is asleep. After some time, Yu regains consciousness and sees Snow's face. Yu suddenly sits back up and asks if he fell asleep and where Miss Persephone is. He looks around but can't find her anywhere. He thinks that he is dead. He starts sweating and asks the system how long he has been asleep. It tells Yu that 5 minutes and 20 seconds are remaining of River Styx effect. Yu says that it is good it hasn't been that long. Yu starts running. Yu tells Cerberus that he is going out and orders him to guard the gates of hell. Yu thinks that normally she wouldn't be able to leave the underworld because of Cerberus. If it gets out that Miss Persephone escaped the underworld because of him, Hades will beat him to death. He wonders how far she went while he was unconscious. Yu says that he has to find her and take her back quickly. He remembers that he now has a new skill of Wind Rush. Yu activates the skill. The screen informs him that this skill will be drastically enhanced based on the user's physical ability. Yu starts running at an insane speed and is surprised to see that he is super fast now. He says he will try using this skill while using his divine power. Yu sits on the ground and launches himself in the air. Yu sees that Miss Persephone is traveling on a boat on the River Styx. Yu is glad that he found her. Miss Persephone is about to reach the other end of the river, but suddenly, her boat stops in the water. She wonders if their boat hit a rock. She goes ahead to see it, but gets scared because Yu is holding the boat from the front. He asks her where she is going in a hurry when she told him that not even a single being must cross the river. He starts shouting at her and asks how could she do that to him. She apologizes and says that she just wanted to see her mother. Yu is surprised to hear that, and he tells her she still should have told him and taken him into confidence. She winks at Yu and tells him that he shouldn't worry because there are still 2 days left until her husband gets back. Also, this is a secret, but she has never been caught before. Yu is shocked and thinks so this isn't her first time. Suddenly the boat hits a rock and is damaged. The water starts getting into the boat. Yu thinks that he doesn't think they will be able to get back. The boat will drown. Yu thinks that he doesn't have a choice because they have nearly crossed the River Styx. Yu holds his breath, jumps in the River Styx, and starts pushing the boar towards the shore. They arrive on the other end of the river. It is completely opposite here. The trees are lush green, and the sun is also shining. Persephone stretches and says this feels amazing. Yu asks her to promise him one thing, that they will go back right away after she visits her mother. She replies that Yu worries too much. She has already told him that she has never been caught. Yu says that he will die for sure if she gets caught. She is about to enter a cave and tells Yu to join her. Yu wonders why all the Greek gods live in caves. Persephone calls for her mother, who is sitting on a chair. Her name is Demeter, goddess of agriculture. She asks what is going on. Persephone says that she is her daughter. Her mother asks in disbelief if she is telling the truth and grabs her face. Persephone replies, of course. They start hugging each other. Yu gets emotional and thinks that, looking at the atmosphere, it seems like there is no space for him here. Yu looks at the ground and sees that a flower has started blossoming. He thinks that in mythology, during the time Persephone was in the underworld, all the plants would wither as a result of Demeter's sadness. In their world, that would be the season of winter. Yu tells Persephone that he has to do something, so he will be going first. She asks if he is not going to monitor her. Yu waves and says that he will meet her by the river Styx at 8. She starts smiling and thanks him for that. After some time, Yu mends the boat by the river. After he is done, he says the boat is ready to cross the river. He looks at the mobile and says that it is time. She should be here by now. Someone is picking a flower from the tree behind Yu. Yu turns around and says that she is finally back, but he is surprised to see a man standing there. He says an insolent punk like him has come as a part-timer. The intuition skill automatically gets activated, and it repeatedly says danger, he will die. The man asks Yu where she is, her wife, Persephone. Yu thinks that it feels like his body is rattling from just a few words from him. He wonders if he is Hades and why he is already here. Yu is scared. Hades comes near him and asks if he is stupid. He says that he can't understand that someone like him found Cerberus's collar and helped her wife escape. Well, it doesn't matter, just die. Hades is about to kill Yu, but Persephone arrives there at the same time and asks why he is trying to kill an innocent god. Hades clears his throat and says running away without saying anything is a bit much. She says that she just went out for a bit and returned right after visiting her mother. Hades says that she should have still told him. She starts pouting and asks if she has to tell him every single thing and if he is treating her like a child. Yu thinks that Hades is getting flustered in front of him. He is a romantic type. Hades tells his wife that he is worried. She tells him that she still has more to say, but they will continue their conversation in the underworld. She brings out a gift box from a portal and gives it to Yu and tells him to consider it a bonus. Hades asks if she is letting him live and what she is giving him in that box. She replies that he did his job well, so she is giving him a gift. She tells Hades that he is so narrow-minded. She touches Yu on the head and says that she will take care of his payment, so don't bother reporting it back to the system and don't come wandering here again. Yu is transferred back to the guild's building. Yu wonders how many times he nearly died in this part-time job. It feels like his life is shortening every time he works as a part-timer. He realizes that he is holding a box in his hand. He says that it was a bonus, so he took it without thinking. He wonders what could it be. Yu opens the box and is surprised to see 2 fruits and asks what this is. The system says that it is a forbidden fruit, and consumption will allow one to distinguish between good and evil. There is also the golden apple, which is a symbol of immortality as a fruit of God. Consumption allows one to be eternally young. Yu thinks with this, his mom will be cured. Yu asks if human beings can even consume the fruits of God. Yu brings out the fruits from the box. After a while at the hospital, a doctor is checking the reports of Yu's mom. He places his hand on the head and says that it is a miracle. Her cancer cells have completely disappeared. Yu and his mom are sitting before the doctor. She asks if it is true, and the doctor replies yes, but this is something unexplainable in modern medical terms. Yu's mother starts crying and asks how a miracle like that could happen. Yu tells her mom that he told her that there are only happy times ahead, and Yu says that it seems like the golden apple worked. Yu thinks that it is a good thing he didn't peel the skin off, just in case there wouldn't be any effect. He made a juice of golden apple and gave it to her mother. Yu tells her mother that the doctor said she's healthy enough to be discharged, so let's return home. They come out of the hospital after some time. Yu calls for a cab, and they sit in the cab. Yu tells the driver to take them to Hwasongbanwal, but the driver tells him that they will have to go around to get there. Yu says, isn't it quick to take the path along Uedo Park? Driver says it is a disaster near that area. It is all over the news. He turns on the radio, and there is news that there is a dungeon near Uedo Park. A cylinder-like dungeon has appeared, and citizens are continuing their evacuation. Guilds and solo hunters are gathering to investigate the dungeon, but there are some difficulties due to traffic congestion. Yu's mother tells him that she can go alone, so he should get going. She starts smiling and says that they need Yu at the dungeon. She brings her head out of the car's window and tells him that she can't wait to see him on the TV. Yu waves at her mom and tells her not to worry. Yu arrives at the location and says that it looks like he will be working all night again. He asks Snow White if it is ready, let's go. Yu says that he wants to check out God's store before going in. Yu sees that his current balance is 12 Thor, which means they haven't transferred the house payment yet. A new title has been added to his profile. The one who tamed Cerberus, the one who has tamed the charismatic watchdog of the underworld. As of now, every dog in the world will follow him. The system congratulates Yu because he has ascended as the dog president. Yu is disappointed by it. Numerous reporters start running towards someone. Yu thinks that they are coming to interview him, but they start interviewing Ju. She also arrives, asking numerous guild members to clear the dungeon. The reporter asks her, unless it is a special case like a labyrinth dungeon, the clear rate is estimated at 90%, so why is she personally taking it on? Yu thinks that so they were rushing to interview Ju. He thinks that it is awkward. Ju replies to the reporters that Sangoon, like always, will give it their best this time as well. No more interviews, please. Yu is surprised to see that she is just ignoring everyone. Yu says that he doesn't have time for this, so he should focus on clearing the dungeon. After some time, Ju also arrives inside the dungeon. She is accompanied by her guild members in the robes. After going deep into the dungeon still, they have faced no one so far. A man says these guys must be hiding in quite a deep spot. They might be planning a surprise attack. Another one says that a surprise attack from a hound is nothing. They are just a bunch of oversized dogs. A guild member starts laughing at him and says this is coming from a person who got bitten by a hound last time. Ju tells them to be quiet and they start whispering with each other. A guild member wonders why the leader is acting like this. She seems different than usual, but again, she is not a good talker in the first place, but she is not someone to get mad over something like that. He wonders what did she see to be like this. Ju has a look of concern on her face. She says they are coming. Large hounds appear in front of them, and a man shouts that they weren't told things like that would be here. These are deadly hounds, and even the slightest scratch from their venom-filled canines would kill a person in 10 minutes. There's a lot of venom drooling from their mouths and taking on the ground. Ju says that they are quite the problematic foe. She is holding a dagger in her hand, and she orders her men that those who are weak in close combat should step back and the rest should follow her. Some of them bring out their swords. They are preparing for the attack when a voice appears and says, "Gucci Gucci Goo." A guild member starts shouting at the others to stop fooling around. They say it isn't them this time. The sound comes from behind the hounds. Everyone looks there. A person is standing behind the hounds and calling the hounds towards him. A guild member is shocked to see that Yu is taming the hounds. He thinks that Yu must be a demonic human. From the standpoint of not knowing who their opponent is, it is the worst case scenario. He brings out the sword and tells Ju to stand back leader. He shouts at Yu to reveal himself. He asks if Yu is a demonic monster and points his sword at Yu. Yu starts walking out of the shadows and tells him to put down his sword. The hound is getting scared and a hound appears behind Ju and is about to attack her. Yu activates the skill Wind Rush and rushes towards Ju to grab her. He pushes her aside and punches the hound. Yu tells the hound that it is a bad boy and it can't bite them. The screen says the current number of dogs following him is 32, but the effect requires physical touch. The guild member is surprised to see that Yu wasn't trying to attack Ju. Yu looks at Ju as he is holding her hand. He notices the bracelet she is wearing, starts smiling, and says so they meet again, Miss Ju. Yu looks at the bracelet again and thinks that there's no doubt about it. It is the same bracelet as Miss Persephone. Yu is about to ask her about the bracelet, but she interrupts him and says that he is quite troublesome. Moreover, there are many eyes watching, and she thinks that is very bold of him. Yu is on the knee holding her hand, so it looks like he is preparing her. Yu says that it is a misunderstanding. He gets up and tells the guild members to stop taking pictures. Guild members are laughing while taking pictures and say that it is a cute dungeon proposal. After a while, Yu and the hounds start at each other. He orders the hounds to sit down, he orders them hounds to dig that area, and the others will assist. Yu salutes the hound, and it also salutes back at him, and the guild members are shocked. The hound starts digging through the ground, and after a while red crystals appear off the ground. The hound brings Yu the red crystal. He pats the hound on the head and says, "God boy, put it over there." Guild members are shocked to see that, they can't believe their eyes. Ju tells Yu that it is an amazing ability and asks where he got it. Yu wonders if it isn't natural for everyone to think that abilities are natural from birth, and he wonders how she knew that he gained this ability. Yu tells her that he didn't gain it, he was born with it. He also has something to ask her about that bracelet. She asks, of course, it is hers, and asks why else she would be wearing it. Yu has an annoying look on his face. He asks her where she bought it from. Yu thinks that there is no doubt about it, that unique design. It is the same as the friendship bracelet Miss Persephone told him about. He starts looking at her bracelet closely. He thinks that Ju is just a vicious stalker. He asks her why isn't she answering his question. Ju tells Yu that she bought it from their internet. The screen appears and says that the effect of the forbidden fruit will be identifying the truth. It says that the target's intentions are close to good. She tells Yu that if he fancies this bracelet that much, then she will send him the link. Yu is embarrassed to see that she is telling the truth. He starts smiling and says that is good. He always wanted to wear that bracelet. Guild members are shocked to hear that, and they start imagining Yu wearing that bracelet. They start whispering that girly bracelets must be his thing. He must run to their leader like that because of the bracelet. That is creepy. Yu is embarrassed to hear them. He thinks that he must have gotten sensitive from traveling 2 different worlds. He thinks that his image is going to hit rock bottom at this rate. Since it has come to this, he will just cover this up with something else. He decides to bring the vicious stalker down with him. He starts laughing wickedly and asks Ju how she knew Snow's name before. He says that she must have done a background check on him. Ju says back that she just heard others say it at the gate. Yu is shocked to see the screen. It says that the target's intentions are good. Yu is disappointed and thinks that he has been acting insane this whole time because he was the one who misunderstood it all. Suddenly, there is a loud bang on the door, and it is destroyed. A boss monster comes out of the gate. It is red with 4 eyes and looks terrifying. It says weaklings have stepped here. They have come to die on their own. How foolish. Now their crimes will be repaid through death. Yu suddenly punches the monster in the face and tells it to shut up. Yu is furious, and everyone is shocked to see that Yu is beating up the boss that easily. Yu kills the boss on his own. He is covered in its green blood, and he has a scary look on his face as he puts his hands on a guild member's shoulders and tells him to please hide the fact that he came to that dungeon. Yu starts smiling and says of course, everything he said there is also a secret. The guild member is scared, so he says yes, he will relay that message to other guild members as well. Yu starts telling everyone to forget everything they heard before individually. Ju is looking at Yu from a distance. Meanwhile, outside the dungeon, everyone is gathered. They finally see people stepping out of the dungeon. They also see Miss Ju. A reporter asks her to tell them about her experience in clearing this dungeon. Yu is wearing a cap and is trying to hide behind other guild members. The reporter asks Ju if clearing this dungeon was easy for her as usual, and she replies that she's glad, as someone in charge, that no one was injured while carrying out their plan. Yu thinks that he was unaware because he suddenly became a hunter when he got blessed with talents, but in order to work as a hunter in their country, one must take an official test to qualify as a hunter. As hunters are people with many powers and immense strength, guilds need to be able to manage them, and one can get any hunter's information with just a simple search on the hunter site. Yu thinks that he is not an official hunter. It is undeniable that he trespassed the dungeon and also the gate. If public opinion worsens over something like that again, his powers could actually decrease. He will leave this one to Miss Ju and quickly get out of here. Yu runs into someone while passing through. The person recognizes him and asks if he is Yu Damdiok. He starts laughing and lifts his sunglasses from his eyes and asks what a talentless insect like him crawling here for. Some people near them hear that and whisper that Yu is also here and ask what that person means by talentless, because when they saw the news, it didn't seem like he was talentless. Yu looks at the guy and is disappointed to see him. He thinks that he wondered who was calling his name. The guy asks Yu if he is not even going to greet him when it has been so long. He places his hand on Yu's shoulder and tells him that he has grown quite a bit. The guy's name is Young Ak. Yu thinks that he is the person who tainted his school days, a ruffian from a rich family. Yu thinks that it could be possible that the world is not controlled by God, but by those with a lot of money. Yu remembers that Young used to beat him up back in his school days, but it is different now. Yu grabs his wrist and says that he sure hasn't changed. Yu tells Young that he still has that dirty mouth on him just because he is from a rich family. Young asks what did he say. He pushes Yu's hand away and tells Yu that he is a little shit getting full of himself just because he became a little famous. From what he saw on the news, he cleared some labyrinth dungeon and destroyed some gate, but something is a bit strange. Jung takes off Yu's cap and says that he knows for a fact that Yu is talentless, so he should come up with a believable lie. Jung starts laughing and asks Yu to tell him something he can believe because there is no way a talentless insect like him can do that. Everyone around hears that, and people start whispering that if Yu clearing the dungeon was a lie, he also didn't come up in the hunter's sight, and if he is indeed talentless. Yu is worried to hear that and thinks that this is troublesome. Ju comes between them, snatches Yu's hat from Jung, and returns it to Yu. Jung asks what her deal is and if she is protecting a talentless piece of trash like him. Ju replies that being talentless doesn't mean that someone is trash. She also tells Jung to take responsibility for his words. Jung gets angry and tells Ju that she doesn't know him, but he knows Yu very well. Jung points at Yu and says that he is just a talentless idiot. Ju looks at Yu. Yu wonders if she is asking him to prove himself. Yu says that it is not difficult to do as he jumps on the bus nearby. Jung is surprised to see that, but he still says that he doesn't believe that he has talent. It must be some kind of trick because he knows Yu is nothing but trash. Yu thinks that it is such a waste of time to even deal with him. Yu starts walking on the bus and tells Jung that he is leaving, while Jung asks where he is going, and he starts shouting at Yu to come back. After some time, Yu thinks that after the incident with Jung, he realized that he has to get qualifications for being a hunter as soon as possible. Yu is tying his shoelaces and thinks that luckily he heard that there is a hunter test scheduled to be held in Dokdo. He is standing on a footpath and a car stops near him. Yu thinks that he is planning on quietly going on his own. Ju is driving that car while wearing a cap, and she asks Yu if he is going to take the hunter test, and she will take him there. After some time, Ju dropped Yu at the test location. Yu thanked her and said that he reached there conveniently because of her. They arrive at the hunter testing grounds. Ju is holding Snow White in her arms, and Yu wonders why she followed him here. He asks her if the future successor of a guild can be this casual. She replies that she doesn't have any plans for today. Yu asks why she is talking informally all of a sudden. She tells Yu that he is the same age as Jung, so that means they are the same age as well. She asks him if they can be just friends. Yu sees the screen and it says that her intentions are close to good. Yu replies fine. There is an announcement on the speaker that number 1A117. Please come to area H for his physical examination. Yu tells Ju that it is his turn. He will be back soon, so she should look after Snow. Yu thinks that he knew she came for that reason only. Aside from feeding Snow seeds, she isn't doing anything suspicious, and her intentions have come out as good, so there wouldn't be any problem. There is an announcement that the test is about to begin. Please note that only the provided gear can be used for the test. Yu is wearing a uniform. First, they will check his lower body strength. Yu is lifting the weights on his back, but suddenly, the difficulty is increased to maximum. Yu says that he can't budge the weight. It is suddenly so heavy. A person comes near Yu and says that is why he should know his place and starts laughing. The screen turns red and says that his intentions are close to evil. He tells Yu that he is a whole ton of weight. A human can't ever move it. Yu hears the voice and says this nasty voice must be of Jung. Jung tells Yu that it will be wise for him to hurry up because he will be automatically disqualified if he can't even do one. Yu closes his eyes and says that he initially planned to leave quietly after receiving his license. Jung says that trash like him should have stayed in the corner. Yu clenches his teeth and tries to lift the weight, but there's an announcement that he has achieved 6 stars for lower body strength. Yu easily lifts a dumbbell next and gets 6 stars. He pushes the tires tied to a chain and receives 6 stars for his strength, and then he receives 6 stars for his speed. Jung is shocked to see that. He grabs someone by the collar and tells them to stop the test right now. He replies, "Sorry sir, they can't stop the test unless there is an error." Jung starts shouting at the person as the person falls to the ground. Jung asks him if that doesn't look like an error to him. Yu's basic fitness test has been completed. Yu managed to get 6 stars in each category except flexibility. He only receives 4 stars, 5 stars in core strength, and also 5 stars in agility. There's an announcement that Yu should proceed to the next test room. It is a building constructed on an island and connected via a bridge. A person is briefing everyone inside the building. He says that he would like to sincerely congratulate all the prospective hunters who successfully completed the first test. The test this time will judge the indispensable quality to becoming a hunter and their teamwork spirit. He presses a button and starts smiling. He says that no one is allowed to use any equipment other than the ones they provide. Suddenly, there are numerous circles on the ground, and they start moving downward. The participants are carrying swords in their hands. The person tells them that even if they kill monsters of other groups, it will not affect their team score. There are many monsters underground, and they also carry blades. A monster is attacking a guy with a blade, and he stops the attack using his sword but falls on the ground. The monster is about to kill him when Yu steps in front and blocks the attack using his sword. Yu asks his team member if he is alright, and if he can stand up. Yu tells him that he will take this side and attacks the monster with the edge of his sword. The monster's chest is pierced, and it gets blown away. Yu sees that some other participants are having difficulty fighting with the monsters. Yu sits down and moves at an insane speed to kill all the monsters using his sword. Yu's teammates ask if he killed all the monsters by himself. Thanks Yu, they might sail through this test quite smoothly. Young arrives and gets angry to see that Yu killed all the monsters. He puts some potion in a dead monster's mouth, and it comes back to life. The screen turns red and notifies Yu that a strong murderous intent has been detected. A monster instantly arrives from behind and attacks Yu. He is surprised to see that and barely manages to block it using his sword. It attacks Yu again with its hand. Yu gets dragged behind, but he stops himself on the ground using the sword. Yu's teammates are shocked to see that one of the monsters is still alive. The monster has blood in its eyes, and it suddenly starts attacking Yu's teammates wildly. It is on a rampage. Everyone is lying on the ground. Their blood is everywhere. Yu is shocked to see that. Young says that everyone has failed the test except Yu. Yu looks up and sees Young sitting there on some kind of a magic circle. Young asks Yu if he is still going to continue because he can't get any scores without his teammates. He warns Yu that he told him to play at his level. Yu thinks that he knew something was not right to think Young would go to such lengths just to see him fail. Yu gets angry and turns around. He starts walking towards the monster. Young says it will be useless without his teammates. Yu tells him to shut up. Yu starts releasing his divine power and says that he will definitely pass and become a great hunter, no matter what. Yu cuts the monster's head and tail with a single swing of his sword, and then he starts moving at an insane speed and kills all the monsters in the basement instantly. Yu says he can't get teamwork points, he can still get individual points, and all the monsters are turned to pieces. Yu says he thinks that he has filled out about 200 out of the 100 required points. Yu looks at Young, who is too stunned to speak. There is an emergency announcement that everyone in the test room should get to the nearest shelter. A huge tsunami has been spotted near Daku Island. It is propagating this way, and the whole building starts shaking. The water started pouring into the test room. There was an announcement to evacuate the test room immediately. Yu is still in the basement. He looks up and says that he needs to see what is happening up there. Yu jumps on the circle Young is sitting on and launches himself upwards. Young asks what he is doing. It is dangerous. Yu comes out of the basement and sees that a tsunami hit the building and part of the wall is destroyed. Water starts flowing into the building. Yu looks at the huge water wave outside and says that at this rate, everyone here will die. At the same time, the screen window appears with a notification. It says that the payment has arrived. The sender is Persephone, and she is sorry that it took so long to send this. Yu starts searching for something useful to buy from the store. Suddenly, he starts smiling to see the wave splitter option and says that it is perfect. It is a sword art sharp enough to split a wave, and its price is 200 Hades. Snow White suddenly jumps into the building while grabbing Yu's jacket and comes near Yu. Yu looks at Snow and asks why it is here. Yu sees that another walk is breaking and water is flowing in the building. Yu says that it is not important right now and tells Snow White to let's do this. Snow turns into the black sword and the wave splitter effect is activated. Yu swings the sword and cuts the large wave of water in two. Yu is excited to see that it actually works, but a wave splashes and Yu is drenched. There is an announcement that all the test takers should head over to the nearest shelter. Yu starts coughing because the water goes into his mouth. The announcement continues that there is a high possibility for a second tsunami wave to strike soon. Yu gets worried and thinks that something like this is going to strike again. He wonders if he will be able to stop it again. Most of the buildings are destroyed by water. Yu is standing there looking at the sea when a job notification appears on the screen. It says that the recruitment notice is urgent. The recruiter is Poseidon, and the job is to repair the palace underwater as a result of the underwater palace's barricade getting damaged. Tsunamis are continuously occurring in the human world. Please apply as soon as possible. Yu thinks all the tsunamis are coming from the world of gods. He thinks that tsunamis won't stop unless repairs are done. Yu remembers that he got his stuff stolen by the dwarves. Persephone tried to run away when she got the chance. He picked up his jacket and tore the uniform. He thought that the gods were so troublesome. Yu accepts the offer while saying that if he wants to live, then her has to go. Yu is transferred underwater to a large and beautiful palace. He is standing in front of a statue, and a person asks who he is. Yu turns around and sees that it is Sir Hephaestus. Hephaestus tells Yu that he knows that he will run into him again. He starts laughing and pats Yu on the head. He sees that the moonlight fox has gotten bigger. Snow turns around and ignores Hephaestus. He gets disappointed and starts crying in the corner. He says that Snow doesn't like him, and it has been so long. Yu tells him that Snow is just shy. Yu thinks that Snow is so affectionate with Miss Ju, though Yu asks Sir Hephaestus what brings him here. He stops crying and turns around excitedly. She tells Yu that is a silly question. There's no way the blacksmith of the repair work can be left out. They were short on help, so he is glad Yu came. Now he will explain the situation before they get to work. He tells Yu to look over there. There is a large crack in the wall. Sir Hephaestus says it just had to be this side that got damaged, so the water is being drained to the human world. To them, it seems like a simple leak from the pool, but to humans, it is probably a massive tsunami. Yu asks how the barricade got damaged like that. Hephaestus tells Yu to look over there. There is a gate in their water, and he says that it is such a pain, and no matter how many times they get rid of it, it always comes back. Yu is surprised to hear that and thinks the gates were not created by gods. They are similar to dungeons, so he is sure God made them. Snow starts acting strange. Yu asks what is wrong with him. All of a sudden, Yu looks at the gate and sees that the area around the gate is getting bigger. Suddenly, it starts pulling things in. Yu says that this damned world of gods just won't give him a break. Yu is getting pulled inside the gate, and Hephaestus shouts at him to hold on to something. He will take care of it, and if he gets sucked into the gate, it's the end. At the same time, Snow White loses his grip and starts floating towards the gate. Hephaestus brings out a large hand through a portal. Hephaestus is using his powers to summon another portal. Two large hands are trying to close the gate by grabbing it with both hands. Yu is shocked to see that. He thinks that the highest class god is on an entirely different level. A hand comes out of the gate, and numerous monsters start coming out. Yu wonders if the gates in the world of gods also have waves of monster breaks. Hephaestus snaps and makes a portal near Yu. A sword comes out of the portal, and he tells Yu to grab hold of his sword, and he will leave the enemies to him while he blocks the gate. Yu grabs the sword and says he thought this was a repair job. His luck has always been bad. Yu launched himself towards the monster and said that he needed a bonus for this. Yu attacked the monster with his sword, but it didn't cut the monster. He started smiling and attacked Yu. Yu dodged the attack and said there was no way. He struck him using divine power, but he still withstood that. The monster says, "Disgusting Olympus idiot, he will rip you to shreds." Yu is shocked to see that the monster even talks. There is something wrong. He thinks the monsters from the gates are on the weaker side. Yu takes a fighting stance and says this might be dangerous for him. He is about to face the monsters when numerous other monsters appear from inside the castle. They are carrying some banners, and they look exactly similar to the monsters that came out of the gate. The battle begins, and both sides start fighting each other. Yu thinks that they are fighting their own kind. Yu sees that there is a blue mark on their shoulder. He guessed they are Poseidon's reinforcement group. He is afraid that he might have to face them all alone. Yu is immersed in his thoughts when a monster attacks Yu from behind. Yu swings his sword backwards to block the attack. Yu says that if it is 1 against 1, then it is doable. Yu attacks the monster with horizontal and vertical slashes. Yu thinks that it wasn't a coincidence that he didn't get it with his first strike. Even with his divine power, all he is doing is scratching the monster. Yu thinks that they are so sturdy. The monster easily blocks all of Yu's attacks and tells Yu that he is getting bored of playing with him. He tells Yu to stop resisting and just die as he is about to crush Yu using his hands. Yu gets down and says then try resisting this as well. He grabs the sword and attacks using a wave splitter. The attack is so strong that it cuts the monsters and pillars all around Yu. Yu puts the sword on his shoulder and asks who is next. The remaining monsters are furious to see that, and they start rushing towards Yu to kill him. Yu again grabs his sword and says that they are wide open. He is about to attack them again using a wave splitter, but the screen turns red and displays a warning sign. It says there are not enough skill points for wave slash. Yu says that he is doomed. He is furious and says everything is going so well. A monster is about to punch Yu, and Yu says that he surrenders. At the same time, someone starts attacking the monsters. He asks the damn fishes who they think they are trying to lay their hands on. Red Fist pulls the pin out of the grenade with his teeth and says fish are best when fried and throws the grenade towards the monsters. Yu looks back and see the dwarves standing there. Red Fist says sorry, they are a bit late, sir. There is a huge blast. Yu sees that some of the monsters are dead while some are injured. Red Fist is sitting on his hammer, smoking a cigar, while other dwarves are standing next to him with weapons. A monster says those little rats, he will rip them all to shreds and starts running towards them. The dwarf pulls out a gun and says come at him, you damn fish. The monster is carrying a rock in hand and throws it at the dwarf. It hits the dwarf's hand, and he misses the shot. The monster lands a kick on him, and the dwarf gets blown away and hits the pillar. His red fist is angry to see that, so he swings his dwarf hammer and smashes the monster into the ground. Yu is shocked to see that dwarf hammer is extremely powerful. He thinks about when he fell into the Styx River, he unintentionally used it. Yu checks his skill on the screen. It says dwarf hammer, and the skill points required are 5. Yu says that it is perfect because it doesn't require many skill points. Meanwhile, Yu sees that a monster grabs the dwarf by the neck and is about to kill him. Yu calls the monster Fish Stick and says that he is the dead one and attacks using a dwarf hammer, but the hammer doesn't come out, and the sword strikes the monster's head. The system cancels the skill because it can only be used with blunt weapons. The monster grabs Yu and throws him far away. Yu hits the pillar and thinks it didn't work because he doesn't have a blunt weapon, and he also doesn't have Snow White with him right now. Yu looks at his hand and says it kind of looks like a blunt weapon. He thinks that his combat skill is ranked SS, and he might be able to use dwarf hammer with his bare hands. Yu sees that the monster is attacking the dwarf, and he is losing a lot of blood. Yu says that she doesn't have time to waste, he will just have to trust his combat skills. Yu rushes to attack the monster and lands a punch on it, but he grabs Yu's arm. Yu says dwarf hammer and crushes the monster into the ground with his punch. The system notifies that dwarf hammer has evolved to dwarf hammer punch. Yu starts smiling and says that is nice. Suddenly, Snow returns back to Yu. He picks Snow up and asks if his Snow is hurt somewhere. Snow starts smiling. Yu tells Snow White that she is coming on him. Snow transforms into gloves, and Yu starts smashing the monsters all over the place. After a while, he asks while holding his hand if that takes care of everything. Meanwhile, dark energy is increasing around the gate. Hephaestus asks what is with this sudden surge in power, and he tells everyone to brace for impact. Yu arrives behind Hephaestus and sees that Sir Hephaestus is sweating. He tells Yu that he can't handle the gate anymore. A cyclone emerges from the gate, and everyone starts getting sucked into it. Yu says that it is breaking through and going on a rampage. At this rate, all of them are going to get sucked in. Yu has a worried look on his face as he sees that Hephaestus is also getting sucked into the cyclone. At the same time, a warning appears on the screen. Yu asks now what is it? The system says an extremely powerful aura has been detected, and it is extremely dangerous. Someone emerges from the gate. He is wielding a black trident. He says that they sure messed up his subordinates well, and calls them insects. The fishermen are excited to see someone with the trident. They say that Lord Poseidon stopped the whirlpool. Yu doubts if he is Poseidon and tells them to stop cheering this spine-chilling aura he is feeling because of him. He asks them if that is really Poseidon. The fisherman replies, now that you mentioned it, he does seem a bit strange. Looking closely, he does look a bit different. Yu thinks that this ominous feeling, that menacing pattern, is the same as carved into the merman from the gates. Above all else, I guess intuition is screaming right now that he is dangerous. The person turns around. He has sharp teeth and a wicked smile. He says he sure beat up his underlings well. He starts using his trident to attack. Yu tells everyone to look out. Something is coming. A light ball is formed on the trident, and laser beams start coming out of it in all directions. The fishermen are killed by the attack while Yu ducks and lies on the ground with Snow White. After the attack stops, there is blood everywhere. The monster starts laughing and says disgusting pieces of trash and starts laughing. Yu says that his intuition is telling him that he is a monster that he can never beat. The monster notices Yu, and there is still a piece of trash left and attacks Yu with his trident. Yu looks back and sees that he is going to get hit by the attack. He uses Wind Rush to run as far as possible, but the monster catches up to him in no time and asks where he is going. He points the trident on Yu's forehead and says, "Die Olympus trash." Yu is scared for his life. There is a huge blast, and the wall is destroyed behind Yu. Yu sees someone standing before him, and he is holding the trident with his hand. He just saved Yu from dying. He asks the monster if he thinks that he could hold him captive forever, and he says that he is Poseidon. The monster replies, "Don't make him laugh. He is the true god." Poseidon punches him in the face and tells him to shut up, fake Neptune. The name Neptune that he is now using was originally his name. Poseidon asks how dare he impersonate him, and the fake one starts pulling Poseidon's hair. Poseidon says that this fake is playing dirty by grabbing his hair, and the fake one tells him to take back what he just said. Yu thinks that he never thought he would witness a fight between the gods of the highest tier in person. They are pulling each other's hair, and Yu thinks that they are fighting like children. Poseidon says that he is a fake. No matter what happens today, he will definitely annihilate him. The fake one says that he is just all talk, and this will be his 78th failed attempt. Poseidon says that is why he hired an amazing god today, and he is right on time. Yu thinks that a god personally employed by Poseidon must be an amazing god. A portal opens and Hephaestus pushes the gate open and says those beasts used such a foul tactic. Yu is happy to see Hephaestus and says if he is here, they can win. Hephaestus asks if he thinks this body can be beaten by such. He starts coughing blood and falls on the ground. He says that he got rid of all the monsters, and his body is aching from fighting after a long time. Yu is worried about seeing Hephaestus. He wonders if he can fight. Hephaestus says that he will leave the rest to them, and Ju and two others come out of the portal. Ju is wearing a black dress and holding a dagger in her hand. Ju is cute, the core of the boss monster, and the gate behind her disappears. The fake Neptune is shocked to see that his gate is destroyed, and he asks if it wasn't enough for them to mess with his subordinates. They also did that to his precious gate. He is about to attack the laser beam at Ju. Yu shouts at Ju that it is dangerous. The fake Neptune attacks Ju, but she easily dodges the attack and rushes towards him and slashes him using her dagger. The fake Neptune attacked Ju again, but this time, Yu stopped the attack using his sword. A monster that came with Ju punches the fake Neptune and pushes him away. Ju asks Yu why he is thoughtlessly interfering. Yu asks if she is getting annoyed because he helped her. Ju asks if he thinks that something like that would do anything to her. Yu thinks that she is so full of herself, but he can't say anything back because she is right. Ju tells Yu that he is quicker than before. She says that Neptune is going to go on a rampage. Ju tells Yu that his expression says that he is curious about many things. Once he is fine with his job, she will tell him everything. She throws a bottle at Yu and tells him to take it. Yu catches the bottle. The system says due to lack of information, some parts of the explanation are not available. But it is a medicine that raises one's godly power. Ju tells Yu to drink it, and keep in mind that he must be the one to take Neptune's last breath. Yu is stunned. Ju says that she will leave it to him and starts running to fight Neptune. Yu tells her to wait and explain so he can understand. Yu grabs his head and says that this is driving him crazy. He asks what is going on all of a sudden. Yu attacks Neptune with her dagger, and her fellow monster punches him into the ground. He is lying on the ground when another one of their teammates arrives and puts his staff on Neptune's head, but he suddenly gets back up and attacks all three of them. Yu is shocked to see that they got defeated in an instant. He asks what kind of monster Ju expects him to kill. Poseidon is worried and asks if Neptune finally snapped. Yu asks what he could possibly do to do something like that and starts stepping back. Yu hits a piece of rock on the ground, and it draws Neptune's attention towards him. He looks at Yu and says that he disrupted this body quite well before, so he will rip him apart now. He shoots the energy beam towards Yu. Yu is too scared to move. Ju jumps and pushes Yu aside and asks what is he doing just blankly standing there. Ju gets hit by the attack while protecting Yu, and she is badly injured. Neptune puts his foot on her and says she is stupid. She could have lived if she had just run away. He asks if she thought something would happen if she saved that insect, and Yu is shocked to see that. Ju replies, of course, that Guy is more amazing than he thinks. She tells Neptune that in the end, he will die at the hands of a lesser god that he underestimated so much. Yu asks what she is saying right now, and what he could possibly do to a monster like that. She looks at Yu, starts smiling, and tells him that she knows he can do it. She believes in him. Yu thinks that the people who were born with special talents, he stood asking to be them, but lived a completely different life. However, his mom was the only person who trusted him, saying that talent wasn't everything. He put in a lot of effort to not be left behind by those born with talents, and then the day he got into huge debt because of his uncle, and the only person who believed in him starts blaming herself for him being talentless, he realized that all those words of comfort were just to alleviate her guilt. The emotions he was feeling weren't anger at sadness, but he was relieved. Having no one to believe in you means that there's no one to disappoint. Back then he had nothing, but it is different now. There is someone who believes in him. Yu starts drinking from the bottle. The system says that a sudden burst of power is starting to arise in him. He starts smiling and tells Ju that she sure is strange. Yu says that this time he will not run away. Yu suddenly disappears and saves Ju from under Neptune's feet. He is shocked to see that Yu puts her gently on the ground and tells her to rest up. He will come back for her. Neptune appears behind Yu and is about to attack him. But Yu tells Snow to turn into a black sword and starts attacking Neptune. Neptune grabs his black trident and tells Yu that just because he got a little stronger, he shouldn't get cocky. He stabs Yu, and the sword falls from Yu's grip. Yu thinks that he definitely got stronger, but there is still this much of a power difference. But still he can't get pushed back because Ju is testing there. Yu gets furious and starts punching Neptune with everything he has got. He keeps punching him faster, again and again. He is not giving any breathing room to Neptune. He starts bleeding from his mouth, but suddenly grabs Yu by the collar and is about to blast his face away. Yu kicks him in the stomach and punches him again. Neptune is furious and says that this time he will end Yu and attacks him with the energy beam. Snow White arrives near Yu and protects Yu by converting him into a shield. Neptune points his trident at Yu and asks if he thinks struggling like that will make a difference. Out of nowhere, Poseidon attacks him using a water dragon pulse and says, finally, they got rid of him, but Neptune is still unharmed. He says that he will end everyone with his next attack. He starts making an energy beam, but Yu tells him that he is not letting him by end anything. Yu also starts infusing all of his divine power to strengthen Wave Splitter. Yu thinks that after being looked down upon all his life, this is the first time he has received a heartfelt trust, so he can't step over all the expectations she has for him. Yu cuts the forgotten god Neptune in half. The system says that an unknown goddess smiles upon his victory, and he has fulfilled the evolutionary requirements with the final blow, and through final blow, he has absorbed the power of the forgotten god Neptune. Moonlight Fox has also leveled up to level 1. Yu says that he did it and falls on the ground. After some time, Yu opens his eyes and sees Poseidon sitting on a throne. He asks if Yu is awake and tells him that he has restored his clothes and healed all of his injuries. Yu realizes that his hands are tied in chains behind his back. Poseidon says that first of all, he would like to thank him and express his gratitude for defeating Neptune. Aside from that, he would like to ask him a question. Because he defeated Neptune, most of his lost power returned to him, but a part of Neptune's power was lost when Yu landed the final strike. That power is strong enough to establish order in this world, but it can also cause chaos around the world. There is a warning on the screen, and it says murderous intent detected. Their intentions are close to evil. Poseidon asks Yu what he intends to do with that power. The system also notifies Yu that Poseidon's eyes of ocean depth see through Yu. Yu wonders if he is treating him and thinks that a lame lie won't work on him, and if he thinks that his answer is unsatisfactory, then he will be killed by Poseidon. After thinking for a while, Yu responds that he didn't defeat Neptune for his powers, but if he allows him, he will strive to become a god that will be acknowledged by others. Poseidon is surprised to hear that and thinks that it feels like he is looking at himself from a long time ago. He thinks that Yu looks innocent. It's as if he is looking at a god that has just been born. Poseidon tells Yu that he is quite transparent and clear. The pesky gate is destroyed, and he has met an intelligent god. There isn't a reason for them not to throw a celebration. He stands up and orders his people to prepare a grand party. At the party, everyone is drinking wine and happily talking to each other. There is a lot of food on the tables. Yu sees Ju there and starts walking towards her.